And we're going to now focus on another important area for tourism events, working with the travel trade and tour operators. For many events, this can open up new audiences and create opportunities for international and group visitors, but understanding how that system works is, of course, very key. So guide us through that today. I'm delighted to introduce to you now George Diamondis, Head of Business Solutions at Tourism NI. George works closely with industry partners to help position our tourism experiences and events with the travel trade market and position our offering of B2B sales. So please welcome for his presentation, George Diamondis. Thank you, George.
Good morning, everybody. Well, I just find the slides here. My name is George Diamondis, and I'm Head of Business Solutions at Tourism NI. For those of you who don't know, the Business Solutions team will be more of the business-to-business or sales-facing element of the organization. So our role is to work with you, the industry, to help you understand the tour operator landscape and also create those opportunities in market through the collaboration of Tourism Ireland to get out, meet, network, and build those relationships with international tour operators. So over the course of my short presentation today, I'm just going to give you a quick overview of who the tour operators are in terms of how we work with them, and then what opportunities that'll give you as as event organizers to engage with them and leverage that distribution network in order to drive event sales or ticket sales for your events. So to start off, why a tour operator is important and what is the opportunity that they present to you. So the best way to think of tour operators, it's a distribution network. So they sell through established networks domestically and overseas, and a lot of times these will be networks that you won't have the direct access to. So the content that Carmel covered in the presentation will be a program to all, particularly around the domestic market and in the Republic of Ireland. We work with tour operators who get access to networks overseas, be it in all our key markets right across the world. They provide demand off-season and in the shoulder seasons as well, so it's not just concentrated at peak tourism seasons. And they tend to be higher spending visitors. And what we mean by that is the type of visitor who will book through a tour operator are not wanting to engage in the faff of having to book their itinerary and their transport all collectively together. And they also want to have a bit of peace in mind in terms of cancellation procedures and having some security around any deposit that they pay to venues or events. And they're prepared to pay a slightly higher price for that. And that's why we tend to say that people that book through tour operators will tend to spend a little bit more. One thing which is really important as well is that they'll tend to sell an experience and not just necessarily the tickets themselves. So if you host an event, that'll be a key anchor in a 2 or a 3-night itinerary. So the tour operators can build a package around that, of which you'll be a key focus point, but then the visitors who come and stay will want to get out and experience more of what Northern Ireland has to offer while they're here. So to give you a quick overview of the tour operator landscape and a bit of the nuances between different types of tour operators. Firstly, we have inbound tour operators. So those of you familiar with the ITOA network, these will be Irish or Northern Irish-based operators that will market overseas and bring visitors into Northern Ireland and deliver those itineraries on the ground. We then have DMCs, or destination management companies. There'll be a bit of an overlap between them and an inbound tour operator, but the key distinction is that a DMC will be marketing their itineraries to overseas tour operators. So they won't necessarily sell directly to the end consumer. They'll package to a wholesaler and deliver that on the ground on behalf of a German or a US or a Swedish tour operator. That tends to be white labeled, so if I'm a German visitor that's coming across the company that I booked through, I wouldn't necessarily know that I was engaged with the local DMC on the ground delivering all that for me. We then have outbound tour operators, and that'll be your network overseas. So be it the German operator I mentioned earlier, they will sell Irish itineraries, and that'll be delivered on the ground, sometimes by DMC or sometimes by themselves if they have that local destination knowledge and time in the destination that they've got those relationships built up with the suppliers. And then we have OTAs, online travel agencies. So those will be the high volume, not necessarily just for tourists, but for business tourists, people visiting friends and family, and it's your Expedias and your Booking.coms. So those are the various different types of tour operators we'll have in market. So how do you sell to a tour operator? And the most important thing to be cognizant of is the booking windows. So tour operators will tend to book their itineraries more from 12 to 24 months out. So their itineraries, they'll be in market planning, they'll be doing investigations for this year for next year's itineraries. So it's really important to make sure that you have your itinerary and your dates fixed, your prices of the tickets fixed before engaging with a tour operator. You'll tend to find that smaller groups, ad hoc groups, the booking window can shorten slightly, but that'll tend to be for like a family reunion holiday, a multi-generational trip. It won't be into the more mass-marketed itineraries. So you'll have to have your itineraries confirmed, or your events confirmed well in advance before engaging with a tour operator. So what do tour operators require when engaging with you in your event? Commissionable rates is the most important thing. Typical tour operators will work on a commission rate of between 20 or 30%, or you'll have a net rate that allows them to build in a margin of about 20 to 30% on top of that. The most important thing to remember when looking at commissionable rates, it's not a discount on tickets to the overseas operators. It's giving you access to that market that they have, or that distribution market where they'll be selling your tickets. And because their booking windows are so far in advance, that allows you to have banked itinerary allocated to tour operators to help you market your event sooner than what you will to the general consumer, who will then be booking with a much shorter period. Early confirmation, I mentioned earlier, is really important. Now, this doesn't mean that if, say, for example, you're a music event, that you have all your acts lined up well in advance. But what's important is that they'll have the dates, you'll have your ticket prices confirmed, and if it's a local music event, that you'll be able to have enough of a description to be able to pass on to the tour operator. The names of the individual acts might not necessarily be as important, but the bones of the event will need to be outlined. And it needs to be a group-friendly product. So you need to have reserved seating blocks. So if it's a seated event, that groups can sit together all in the same location. There's groups access times, and then also have the ability to offer any add-ons. So if there's any behind-the-scenes access or hospitality add-ons, those will be available to the tour operators as well. So what makes an event viable to sell? So something that's unique and distinctive. The tour operators, by and large, will be the outbound, the overseas tour operators will be bringing business in that you'll be looking to work with. Domestic market will be looking to book themselves. They don't need to go through a tour operator. So it's really someone from out of state. They'll be looking for something really unique and something that they won't be able to experience back at home. A strong destination connection is really important. So food and drink, local music, those are things that we have here that is very appealing to the international visitor. You'll need to work with accommodation providers and be able to support the overseas tour operator to help them understand where your event is based and have access to viable accommodation that's able to then be part of the itinerary. The more you can do to assist the tour operator and make their life as easy as possible, the more success you're going to have, one, in building that relationship with them, and two, in helping them build that confidence in you to drive the ticket sales on your behalf. Likewise, with I mentioned earlier, added experience in those behind-the-scenes options that you have. That gives the visitor something unique to be a part of, but also for the tour operator, that gives them something that differentiates what they can sell to their competitors. So if you have a well-established relationship with a tour operator and having something that they can sell that no one else has access to is a real strong USP. So why are some events difficult to sell for tour operators? Events that are really focused on local audiences will be difficult for overseas tour operators to understand and then obviously then promote and sell on your behalf. If you don't have a ticketing distribution system that is built for trade distribution, that can be a hurdle or an obstacle for overseas operators. If you don't have the ability to package and distribute unique experiences or something that the tour operator is able to make a margin on and a product that they can sell, that is more likely to then have them to look elsewhere or maybe presently not look at your event. And then any uncertainty around the delivery. So the event has to be well established, that they'll know this is an event that's going to take place and it's going to deliver an exceptional experience for their clients, but also the dates are fixed and that they know that the pricing and everything what will be included is already outlined and clearly explained to them. So how can you engage with event organizers and how can you then take your product out into market? So firstly, engage with TNI and Tourism Ireland in the overseas platforms that are available to you. The business solutions team at TNI are on hand to help you understand what is required to work with tour operators, and I encourage any of you who have not yet enrolled in the Travel Trade Ready e-learning platform on tourismni.com to do so. It's a great way to get an understanding of how to work with tour operators and what is required. We run a number of platforms overseas and domestically each year, which will give you access to meet the tour operators firsthand. You need to share your information 12 to 18 months in advance. So really events for this year, it'll be a big challenge to work with tour operators in terms of driving ticket sales for this year. Their itineraries will be fixed, and they'll be out promoting these to the end visitors at the moment. They'll then be looking at the second half of this year for next year's itineraries. So engage now with the intention of building those relationships and securing your event onto the itineraries for next year. Have your commissionable ticket rates available to them, and have a one-pager, something that's very clearly outlined in terms of what the event and what the event is, what makes it unique, and what will make it something that's easy for them to sell on your behalf. When looking at selling your tickets to overseas tour operators, think of a hotel model or a flight model in terms of you're looking at having a block of tickets sold early before you're actually going out into market. So it's that early, it's banking an early set of tickets that then allows you to know that you've got some money in the bank before then taking a broader campaign series of activity with which Carmel mentioned, and that's the end consumer sort of driving some more tickets. So I will be at the desk a little later in the day. We don't have anyone else from Business Solutions here with us today, as all hands are on deck for Meet the Buyer next week. But I'll be delighted to help you out with any questions you have and make introductions to the team in due course. So thanks very much.